Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hello, my friends. What is it that is always present? We are always conscious. Sometimes we may be half asleep, but still we are conscious. It is always available. And yet, we are overlooking that most of the times. We just can bring back the attention to that consciousness, to that fact that we are consciously alive here, now, no matter what we are doing. And yet, we spend so much time not being aware of that, being so absorbed in the stories, in the situations, in the thoughts, in all the stuff that one is dreaming up the whole day long, not aware of being conscious. And there is love. Everything is connected. Being aware that everything is connected is love. The emotional love can open up, but that awareness of all being connected is love. It's always here. It's never different. It's not that sometimes we are connected, sometimes things are connected. Everything is connected all the time. And there is energy, the Shakti, the prana, the life force that makes everything alive. It's never absent. Without that, nothing could move. Nothing could be alive. And we can bring the attention to that continuous presence of that light force by simple means like feeling the body sensations, breathing consciously. This is always present. Consciousness, love, energy. Focusing on one will certainly bring the other two aspects into the picture. No matter what we are doing, whether we are alone or in a crowd, whether we are silent or talking, whether we are sitting or walking, not for a moment consciousness is absent, or love is absent, or energy is absent. And yet, it's so easy to simply completely get immersed in the situations, in our stories, taking it so serious, although it's momentary. It comes, it goes, it changes all the time. Looking for security there is such an illusion. Looking for fulfillment there is such an illusion. Looking for being really profoundly happy there is such an illusion. How could it be? It's momentary, it's flickering, it's changing, it's completely unstable. How could we have that stability, that peace, that sense of fulfillment one is longing for? Everybody is longing for, whether they know it or not. Everybody wants to be happy. And it's always available. What we need is not something that we have to achieve, find after a long journey. It's never absent. Okay, when we go to sleep, we are not aware of it. If we are bringing the attention to that consciousness during our waking hours, then we are already doing the job. There are yogic techniques to make the sleep more conscious, to dream consciously, to continue the practice in dream. Those who are attracted to such practices can do so, but it's not necessary. It's enough if in the waking state we don't forget about it. Just learn to be consciously in touch with any of the three aspects, with a combination of the three aspects, as one prefers. And then the road is clear. All the tensions that we are carrying along with us will gradually simply disappear. All those barriers that prevent us from that clarity of being rooted in that pure consciousness, love, energy, that clarity is simply emerging, and all those obstacles, those barriers that are there, they are disappearing. Sometimes something comes up strongly. We may have to spend some time working directly on it, but basically all that is needed is very simple. It's in one way or another, you bring your attention back home to that what is always present. The fact that we are conscious. The love that connects everything. The energy that moves everything. As soon as we go into expression, into manifestation, it's continuously changing. Nothing wrong with that. If we accept it, then it's a play. Continuous changing expression of that basic truth. If we don't try to get permanence out of that changing manifestation, then there is not the problem. You accept manifestation for what it is. You accept the stories for what they are. Stories continuously changing, place where we are playing a role. But we are not that story. We are that which makes the story possible, and in that we can play a role. Being so identified with that role is creating all the trouble, creates the sense of being separate, the sense of you and me are two separate beings. We are all essentially one. There is a unique way of expressing it for everyone, but there is no separation. That sense of separation, that is the problem, and that is something that we are creating from moment to moment, again and again. It's such a habit that we simply think it is like that. Come back home to that which is prior, that which is always present, that cannot possibly be absent, because it's prior to time and space. Time and space are changing. Everything within time and space is continuously changing, comes into existence, disappears. But that which is prior simply is, and we are there at home. That is what you are. All one. In that oneness, there is the multiplicity. Every center of perception in that oneness is unique, has a unique flavor. There's nothing wrong because there is no separation. We can live like this. We can be in that awareness. That is our birthright. Out of habit, the pull to slip out of it is so strong that for some time it needs a bit conscious work to undo that habit, to neutralize that strong pull. To get identified with the story, to get identified with the picture, to get identified with that which is moving, changing, desperately looking there for permanence, for something that remains, and it always slips out of our fingers. Come back home to that state, to that awareness that is there prior to time and space, prior to that which is changing all the time. Observe what is going on in manifestation. We can see all the changes. We can pour our energy, our creativity into the story. But the fact is that we are prior to that. And when we are caught up in the story, identified with the person, we can start with that personal consciousness. Sometimes people ask, but if I'm inquiring who am I, then I'm holding on to my personal consciousness. It's not the real consciousness. It's a little drop of the real consciousness. There are not real consciousness and false consciousness. Catch the consciousness wherever you are on that level, and then just right back to the source with that consciousness, with that awareness of being aware, with that consciousness of being alive, of being here now. Nobody can say that we don't know it because it's so familiar, that sense of presence, that which immediately is being touched when I say I. There is that so totally familiar sense of presence. Just come back to that and learn to relax. That's all that we need. Be in that and relax. Be in that and relax. It's not that we have to use the will to achieve something. We can use the will to bring the attention categorically back to that. To continue, even if the old habit pulls us away again and again, we can use the will, But we don't have to will reality into existence because it is already here. It doesn't have to be created. It doesn't have to be achieved. It's that which is prior to everything. That's why I say just bring the attention and relax. Relaxing means to detach. Relaxing means to let go of all the different burdens that we are carrying along unnecessarily. Ramana once said to somebody, you are like a man with a heavy weight on the head, carrying that weight, entering a train, and you keep that weight on your head instead of simply putting it down. Because whatever you're carrying, it's still coming along. Relaxing, really relaxing, is putting that weight down. Sometimes people ask, yeah, but what do you mean by relax? By relax, I mean relax. Relax, whatever level you are aware of. Relax your body. Relax tensions in the body. Relax energetically. All the energetic tensions that we unnecessarily keep alive. Relax in the mind. All the worries that we are carrying along that seem to be so terrible. Relax intellectually. All those questions, unanswered questions, those suspicions, those ideas, what could be, what could not be. Relax. Everything is here. It's now. Just be consciously conscious, consciously alive. In that immediate, direct sense of presence that is always there, that is always first, prior to every thought, prior to any emotion, prior to any actions. It's never absent. Come home to that. That is the job. You've learned to create an apparent distance to that. And so the job is to unlearn that again and become aware. Hey, come on. It has never been absent. It's always here. It has always been here. Hario, Hario, Hario. All right, my friends. Now I'm open for anybody else to talk. If anybody would like to say something, you are welcome to come in and do so. Hello, Piotr.
Hello, Werner.
Hello.
Uh, you may not remember me, but I was.
Of course, I remember you. You put a clown nose on my nose.
Yeah, yes,
Yes.
I did.
Yes.
Yes. Um, yes, I started to listen to your talks, some time ago,
Mhm.
the recorded ones,
Yeah.
again, and it's very nice to see you now. By the way, in yeah,
You're welcome.
yeah, um, and it became important for me. Thank you for all what you are doing. Um, and I have a question, because everything what you say for me is very much about this vertical, going into the depths,
Mm.
relaxing, going to this place that is prior to thoughts, that is so natural, that what you were just talking about.
Yes.
But there is also this horizontal plane, uh, where are other people in the world, and all the relationships, all the um, social interactions, family, my participants in the workshops, friends, and I feel um, sometimes that is for me difficult to relate to the people um, from this place,
Mm.
or from it is just disturbed whenever I am among people. um, I can hardly get there,
Mm.
because there's a lot of excitement, a lot of there is something like loving presence, that I am able to be with people, to
Yeah.
be present, to be from my heart, especially during my work and workshops. Um, but it is, um, um, yeah, I always feel like an opposite to these people. I mean, I am with them, but I am at the same time myself. And I'm losing um, this relax state. I can only relax when I'm alone, I have a feeling.
Mm.
And with other people, um, even with very close people, it's difficult to relax for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the question will be how um, to deal with it, or how to strengthen it, or I don't know what to do in these moments.
Yes. It is so because we have learned to function like this. When we grew up, we have been trained how to function and then put all our attention into that role, into that personality, into our appearance and how the people perceive us. And this habit has become so strong that it seems it's not possible to bring that together, to just be and relax and play that role. Of course, it's easier to become aware of that sense of presence when we just are not busy with anything. When you sit quietly by yourself, have nothing to do, and then you bring your attention back to that, it's easier to be aware of that. But then we can just learn to bring that attitude as good as we can into our daily activities when we are with friends, with family, with the people in the workshops, that every now and then you tell yourself, okay, let go. You connect with that sense of presence. It's still there. That which you feel immediately when you say I is still there all the time, even if we are overlooking it. And we just have learned when we are active to completely ignore it. And because of that, it seems to be so difficult that the two cannot go together, but they can. We just have forgotten it. So, what to do it with it? Whenever you remember, when you're active, you just tell yourself, okay, be here, be now, relax. And it's not that you become incapable of being active and interacting with people. In contrary, actually, the more you learn to be conscious, to be relaxed in the presence of people, the more effective also you become when you are active. Then you are aware, okay, there is action. Simultaneously with the action, there is something deep down that is not affected by it. Eagerly observing, but not affected by it. So just tell yourself every now and then, whenever you remember, just bring the attention back and relax. In the midst of the action, if you are with the group, if you are teaching, and then in between you just make a little tiny break, you tell yourself, just be here and relax. Maybe you take a conscious breath and relax. And then you continue, and gradually it becomes easier and easier to be rooted in that immovable and simultaneously be active. It should be natural. It's our natural state. But we have learned to function in such a different way that it seems difficult. So we have to learn it as if it is something new. like, like learning a new art. We just start to slightly, little bit, learn the basics, and then we keep on practicing, and gradually it becomes more and more easy and natural. It's not an opposite. Still, uh, I do recommend everybody that they have some time every day where they withdraw, where they can put their undivided attention on that. It's very helpful to have every day some time like this, because there is a greater intensity with it. But after that, when we are busy with whoever, friends, family, other people, busy with something or other, that we learn to bring that as good as we can into that, and gradually it's getting easier and easier, and eventually it's happening naturally, effortlessly.
I have a feeling that they occupied, when I am among people,
Mhm.
that they take place in this space
Mhm.
that I have inside. And depends what they bring in, because sometimes they bring a lot. So they bring some kind of commotion, or they mix this stillness, and I cannot, like, I don't want even to divide, because this to protect myself. I want to be vulnerable, and I want to be open. And there's something about humility also. I believe very much in some kind of leadership that is based on humility and vulnerability, and also truth and depth, and that doesn't allow me to make barriers, to but to be open and to welcome what is there. But then I am easily lost. Yeah, I am lost.
Yeah. Uh, all that you are saying, you can very well keep that openness. Nobody says that you should make a barrier. Simply that you are aware, okay, on the personal level, that vulnerability is there, because that person that we think we are is also part of the same expression, the same manifestation. But you can, without creating a barrier, be aware, prior to that, there is something that is untouchable.
Yes.
Actually, you can even be much more without fear on that manifested level, vulnerable, because deep down you know there is that aspect that cannot be touched. Doesn't mean that I'm creating a barrier. Okay, I'm withdrawing now, keeping them out. No, just bring the attention back to that which is already there. Be aware, okay, there is that ground. And because of that ground, all these stories are possible. All these interactions are possible. And you can bring that creativity, which comes actually out of that ground. It's not the product of our intellect, but that creativity comes out of that source, out of that base, that immovable base that is full of the potential of everything. All that beauty and creativity comes out of that. So the more you have access to that, the more you can relax in that, the more freely that can flow out of there and manifest and express itself. Nobody says anything about making a barrier.
Yes, yes. Yes, it has a lot to do with courage also, I
Yes,
think.
yes.
Yeah.
It's not
Courage,
that
courage
it,
to be.
yes, it's not that I, as a person, withdraw now and to keep the others out. It's more that I'm withdrawing the attention from me being a person.
Yeah.
Right. And yes, it needs courage because that identification with the personality is so strong that as soon as we start to let a bit go of that, then all that resistance comes because, so, and after that, what? If I'm just letting go and disappear, then what? Being afraid that all we hold dear and is valuable disappears, but that is the illusion. All that is really valuable comes from that ground that is prior to the person.
Yes, this pure presence, the something what I can experience, I have feelings that sometimes that it is there. It is just something what I can connect very much
Mm.
with. And to overcome this personality, or it maybe not completely, but in a certain extent. Yes, and yeah, it will be like a long talk, so maybe I will finish for today to let other people to talk, and then I will think about it, and maybe another week I will have another question for you. Okay?
You're welcome. You're welcome to do so.
Yeah.
Okay, then we'll
Thank
leave
you.
it at that for today. Hari
You.
Om. Hari
Adios.
Om. Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to come in, say something? You're welcome to do so.
Werner, hi.
Hello, Andre.
Hello.
Привет, Андрей.
Hello. Um,
Антон.
Anton.
у меня есть вопрос.
Anton, not Andre.
Есть,
Anton.
I have a question.
I will speak in Russian because it's
Я буду говорить
too
по-русски, потому
hard.
что очень
Oh,
сложно.
Uh, so, несколько недель назад
Few weeks ago,
Я лег спать однажды в кровать
I fall to sleep
и остался там почти на 2 недели.
and I was sleeping about 2 weeks.
You were
Ну,
sleeping
я не,
for 2 weeks.
Ты
ну,
спал
я
2
не
недели
спал, я
непрерывно?
лежал, я не
I was just
вставал.
lying down and be lazy.
Yeah.
Было так хорошо,
I feel very happy
и я потерял связь с внешним миром.
and I lost connection with the world.
И увидел вот этот круговорот, сансару.
And I start to see this samsara, this wheel of changing.
Произошло какое-то некое отделение
Some separation happened with me
от процессов, происходящих вокруг.
from the process, what is happening around.
Я был частью этих процессов, но не
I've been part
отождествлялся с
of this
ними.
process, but I not identified with it.
Но потом
But
я
then
пошел поесть, потом
I
я что-то
start
еще
eating
сделал,
and I did something else
и это исчезло.
and I lost this state.
Но то, как я себя ощущал тогда, и то, как я себя ощущаю сейчас,
But that feeling that I experienced then,
оно не поменялось никак.
it's same that I feel right now. It's same state of mind.
И я вот размышляю, а так ли
And I'm
нам
thinking,
нужно вообще вот эти вот проявленные состояния? Достаточно же просто быть
maybe it's enough just to be. Антон, я тебя не совсем понял, еще поясни, что ты имел в виду последнюю фразу.
так ли нужны разные состояния,
Are really we need different state of mind? Какие
мы,
состояния ты имеешь в виду?
мы так к ним стремимся, быть отделенным, быть
Longing
невовлеченным,
for different state, be separate, be
быть в
not
любви.
identified, be in love.
Вот. А это все просто часть игры ума.
And I see this is a game of the mind.
А правда где-то рядом.
And truth somewhere around, not in these states.
Okay, now when I'm replying, then I don't know whether you're translating dial, but then please note that everybody can hear it.
Антон, а ты можешь в Телеграме меня слушать? Вернер просит, чтобы я не переводил для всех в Зуме. Антон, ты слышишь меня в Телеграме?
Да, да,
А я тогда микрофон отключаю.
да, хорошо.
Okay, Werner, I will not translate in Zoom.
Okay. Yes, that's because when we are usually not functioning like this, and then you can suddenly feel a deep, special connection in a period like you described, that you sort of just for one reason or another withdraw from the world and are quiet. And then in that quietness, you become aware in another way that there is something pristine, untouched there, something that is not involved in all the activities. It's also there when we are active. It's simply because we have learned when we are active, when we are all involved with people, when we are doing our things, that we so much focus on that, that we lose that awareness of that purity that is untouched by it. And so it can easily happen that when you withdraw like this, that you are quite differently aware. And then as soon as you are again busy, that clarity has the tendency to disappear. Why? Because the old habit takes over, that we are then separating the active aspect and that which is an expression, that which is a manifestation, we are separating it from that which makes the whole experience, the whole action possible. It's normal, that's natural. That you stay with that, and then the old thing, the old way of functioning takes over again, and the clarity disappears. Then it may just come back in the midst of the action, or maybe it comes back when you withdraw again. You say it needs a different state of mind. Actually, we just have to learn to let go of the mind also when we are active. Sometimes, actions, they demand certain thoughts. We can think that and leave it. But usually when we are busy, out of old habit, we are not simply thinking the few things that are necessary, but we are thinking 100 other things simultaneously, and it's round and going round and crystallizes then that manifestation in such a way that we think that is something separate. But if we learn to be aware of that mind, even when we are with people, if we learn not to be interested in all that unnecessary activity in the mind, but focus on that which is up in the moment, and be aware prior to that there is that something that is not affected, then we can be amongst people. The state of mind may change according to the circumstances, but that awareness that there is something that is not moved by it, that is always connected, that is not separate, that makes everything possible. And yet it's not a part of the whole action. That awareness can become steadier and steadier. So, totally normal that this is happening when you withdraw, that it is easier to be aware of that. And then as soon as you are again with people and the state of mind superficially changes, one has the tendency to lose it, to lose that clarity. We can at least at that time remind ourselves, okay, but even here now, in the midst of the activity, I can connect and I can let go. That is the best way to make yourself available, that it comes back, that clarity. And for sometimes it may be continue like this, that when you are withdrawing more, when you are rather separating yourself away from all that what is happening, that this comes back. And when you are not separating yourself away, that the tendency is there that you lose it again. But if you do it consciously, if you go back with the intent to bring that clarity, that connection also into the activity, then gradually that difference is getting less and less. And even if the mind is busy with something that is necessary to think about, there you still can be aware. But there is that which is prior to the thoughts, prior to the action, prior to the expression. We have built up that habit of functioning in such a way that we are like separate beings from what we really are, that there is a real I and a false I. There is no really any false I. There is simply a reflection of that real I, and we falsely identify with the real reflection like it is the real thing. Like when we look at the sun reflected in the water, that we think it's the sun. There are no two suns. The one is there and the other one is a reflection. And we somehow falsely identify with that reflection and think that's what I am. And we have been building up that certainty over a long time, over and over, on, and crystallized it in such a way that it simply doesn't disappear from one day to another. Your purity has never been changed. It is there, has always been there, has never been absent. But that possibility to consciously access it has been forgotten and then over covered up and covered up and covered up. And now when you break through it sometimes, and it's fully there, and then the habit, the old covers will close again. So it's just a question of time and persistence that you continue connecting with that which is real. And those tendencies that then make these two situations so different, where you withdraw and where you are with people, those tendencies, they are getting weaker and weaker. They have grown in time, and we can undo that in time. We need not in time gain that which is real. It's always here, it's always present, but we can undo the obstacles which we unconsciously have been created and build up and build up, so we can reduce them and reduce them until they are not more capable of throwing your experience out of that, even in the activity. If you can, if you have the opportunity, it's always good that you withdraw again, that you retreat because you like to do so. But then at the same time, when it's necessary, then be with people, do whatever needs to be done, and just bring it into that as good as you can. Eventually, you won't feel that difference so strongly anymore.
Почему в какой-то момент
Why it's at some point
я себя и чувствую, и проживаю, и думаю как единое.
I feel myself and experience like oneness.
Mhm.
Но сейчас,
But now,
хотя присутствует много чувств,
I feel many emotions,
но за этим всем я
but behind
нечто
of it,
недвижимое,
I feel something immovable.
но я так не проживаю.
But there's not such experience as it was before
В чувствах.
in my experience. It's not like that before.
Right. That's how it goes. It's very, very, very rare. Somebody experiences that, and then it just stays. Maybe a few rare exceptions. But for all of us, for most of us, for nearly all of us, it will be like that. That sometimes it comes strong, an experience very clear, very firm, and then it's getting overshadowed again We need not somehow be downcast because of that. We need not condemn ourselves. We need not go and dig and what did I do wrong? Why has it happened? I made a mistake. There was no mistake. It was just not the time that this could stay and manifest on and on. Somehow the psychophysical body has manifestation, has also to be ready for that. So instead of thinking, what went wrong? Why is the experience not like before? It's better to just have that gratitude. Thank you very much for that grace, for that experience, as long as it was there. And when it's going, when it's not with that clarity, then we are back to work as good as possible, bring the attention back to that. You still say you are aware there is something immovable there. So the job is that when that is not the experience that you had before for some time, then you bring your attention again back to that immovable as good as you can, even when there are emotions, even when there are activities, when you're interacting with people. There's nothing wrong with emotions. As long as the human body exists, as long as you are appearing in a human form, there will be emotions. It's part of the human experience. There's actually nothing wrong. But emotions, they are on their level. They are like waves. They come, they go, and that's not the problem. The problem is that when the emotions are there, either we fight them because we don't want them, or then we are too much interested in them and we try to grab them and hold them. And in both ways, we are feeding our life force into them that they become bigger and bigger, and then it's becoming an obstacle. But if we don't do that, if we just accept the emotions as part of the human experience, then they are actually making the whole human experience a bit juicier. They come, they are there, they go. There is no problem about it. But if it is happening, as it happens to everybody, that all the emotional things, all the thoughts, all the interactions with people have the tendency to overshadow that clarity of that experience, then don't be in judgment over yourself. Accept, okay, there is some more work to do. So what? Then you come back, but you have at least that advantage that basically know very well there is something else that is totally unaffected by any of that. And if our experience is slipping away from that, we can also accept, okay, now for the time being on this level, there is some more work to do. Catching the attention when it's going all over the place and bring it back home and relax as good as we can. And then it will come back. And sometimes it will stay longer, sometimes less, but it will come back gradually. The tendency is more and more. We may even go through a period where it's very difficult because a lot of stuff from deep in the subconscious may come to the surface and we have to somehow go through it. But if we keep going, then eventually your attention may be sucked so deeply in the base of that you don't lose it anymore. There still will be a slight difference whether you are active or whether you are just totally absorbed, but not that it disturbs the basic experience of being aware of you to be prior to all that. That you are not born at a certain time, that you will not die at a certain time. Just continue when it's not so clear and not think, something went wrong. Okay, it was there, a moment of grace. Now it's again overshadowed, so I keep on working, coming back as good as I can, making myself available, inviting that grace to manifest again, and then that grace will also come again. What do you think? Shall we leave it at that for today? If you have said anything, I couldn't hear because you are muted on this level, on this channel.
Sorry. Я чувствую, что я одно, в том числе тот, кто говорит.
I feel myself one with that who is speaking right now.
I didn't quite get it, Dial. He feels himself like?
He feels himself connected with the source and with the person who is speaking, with his personality as well.
Yeah, right now.
But I am not involved in it, and I'm only feel it as a something who catch it. So I don't understand.
What's there to understand?
I don't understand something why my mind wants to know about it. Because I don't want to know about something about God, about love, about connection and grace. It's only words. Words are not connected with me, but connection is now. So why I am asking?
You wonder why you are asking, because you basically don't really want to know, because you know more direct than words can know.
I am asking because I don't want to ask. Я хочу спросить столько раз, чтобы мне самому надоело спрашивать.
I want to ask as many times that I get tired of asking. Right now, just right now, you feel that. So basically, no question is necessary, but since the question has been there for some time, it still comes out. And then if maybe this moment passes and that clarity is also not more so clear, then you can remember the words and make as good as you can use of them to just let go again.
Моя устремленность спрашивает внутри, кому принадлежит это чувство.
My longing, what I have inside, asking to whom belong this feeling, this experience.
Right. It belongs to you, to that which you are. It comes out of that, but belonging not as a possession, it's an expression. The expressions change all the time. That which makes the experience possible is not changing. This is all the game that that changes continuously, the game of manifestation, the game that makes it possible to have feelings, to go through that experience with emotions, with thoughts, with attractions or aversions, the whole story that comes out of it. In course of the process, it's like that oneness is always the same, and yet it's getting richer for the experience. It is not something that is absolutely necessary for that what you are, that the sense is already complete in itself, and yet there is also an inherent, like a childlike curiosity in that beingness, in that consciousness, to experience itself in ever new and new ways, to get richer for the experience on different levels, in different ways. The essence remains the same, but the experience of that oneness, the experience of that essence keeps on unfolding, gets richer, is developing, and there's no end to it. There is always still infinity there to explore.
Почему связи не происходит этой между тем, что я чувствую, и тем, что происходит, нету связи, что это единое? Я понимаю, что ничего кроме этого нет.
Why there's no comes connection with that experience and не совсем вот как-то я понял связи между чем, Антон, еще раз уточни.
Я понимаю, что
I
это
understand
происходит в отсутствии делателя.
it's happening without doer when I'm not active.
Но нет связи
But
между
there's no
тем,
connection between
между тем, что я этим являюсь, что вот это я, оно какое-то ограниченное, и я не понимаю, почему у меня нету соединенности с этим.
I have not connection with that experience of my oneness as far as I
Хотя я
understand.
проживаю любовь, она
Experience
безграничная.
love и unlimited love I feel.
Там исчезает эго.
And
Я
but
наблюдаю.
I observe my ego.
Но нету соединенности.
But there's no connection between this experience and my
Я либо там, либо я здесь.
I'm there or here. I'm not present in both state.
And you are swinging from one to another. I'm asking, are you swinging from one to another?
Чего, Миш, впереди?
Он спрашивает, ты как на качелях качаешься от одного состояния к другому, да? Он спрашивает тебя, так это или нет? Он пытается понять.
Да, да.
Yes,
Но
yes, I'm
это,
swinging.
но это не состояние. То есть
It's not a state.
я исчезаю, когда вот я
I'm
становлюсь любовью,
disappearing when there's experience of oneness.
но что-то наблюдает, и за этим тоже не
But
вовлеченное.
something watching it without attachment.
Yes.
И вот это я.
And this is me.
Right. But it's much more. It's much more than that. That observation, that watching, that witnessing is happening all the time. Sometimes we become aware of it. It's there. It's not that somebody is witnessing. It's not that there is such a guy who is witnessing. If we produce such a guy in the mind, then after that we have to witness that guy again and witness the witness. So you're becoming aware that that witnessing is going on, that no matter what is happening, emotional or empirical, that basically you are not involved. You're not involved directly, and yet you are still that which makes the experience possible. And don't try to resolve that with your intellect. These words are not explanations, really. They are just intended to grab the attention and put it in the right direction. Because we cannot satisfactorily explain the situation. And you are aware that it's beyond explanation, but still somehow, somewhere, you would like to have an explanation for something that is not really possible to put in words. So just take it like this. There is that aspect immovable that is not affected, that makes the experience possible, at the same time giving the energy that it's possible, at the same time not being involved, but just there is a continuous observation there. And somehow that is enriching that being that is all one and yet unique, that being that's whose experience of that all oneness is unfolding, expanding, getting richer. Shall we leave it at that for today?
Как же не вести машину в этом состоянии? Оно
But how
отключается.
to drive the car in this state? This state somehow switch me off.
Yeah, but that is simply the mind that is telling that. You just sit in the car and drive off, totally relaxed, not being the doer, and you will see that you can drive your car as good as when you are fully focused on driving, just letting things take their course. It can be a very nice experience to be so totally relaxed, driving the car through the traffic, being aware that you are not really doing it, and yet still you give that impulse that the driving can happen. On the physical level, by all means, be attentive, but you can totally relax. And in that relaxation, even when driving the car through the traffic, you're still functional. You don't have to close your eyes and disappear. That is not recommendable. Would end very quickly disastrous. No. But you can be aware, okay, in spite of that activity, in spite of the need of focusing, not to make a mistake, there is that total detachment and there is that aspect that is not affected by it. It's not a contradiction to be capable of doing so and at the same time being aware that actually it's just happening. Being the doer and being not the doer, both are concepts, and you can drop both. You sometimes detach from the notion I'm the doer. It's good to focus, I'm not the doer. And then you can let both go. And then simultaneously, you can focus, you can give the input, and at the same time, just let it happen.
Yes, I'm between,
Right.
behind.
Behind, on top, in front and behind, and under it, inside and outside, you're everywhere.
Behind my senses about.
All right, Anton, I think we leave it for today. I saw before another camera lighting up. I don't know whether somebody wanted to come in, but it looked like. Shall we leave it? That's it. Hario, Hario. I'm not sure who it was. Just before camera was lighting up. It's possible. Was it you, Josh?
Hi, yeah, it was me.
You wanted to say something?
Yeah, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
I wanted to say something. This stuff about old patterns resurfacing, like old habits. Is this like, it seems like if I avoid doing certain things in life, like interacting with people that there seems to be a lot of past stuff with that kind of didn't all go that great, then it's probably better to avoid those kinds of interactions. But yeah, what do you think?
Right. I mean, you don't have to go out of your way to try to avoid it. Don't avoid it out of fear. And then, because otherwise you are always running away. But if you can choose and you see it doesn't make sense, there is not much sense in meeting those people or hanging out with those people, and you can easily avoid it, then by all means, avoid it. If it's just something that is rather disturbing instead of helpful. And then on other times where you cannot avoid it, because sometimes it may happen that in spite of that, you may not avoid it, then go in with confidence and connect with yourself, and don't let yourself too much be shaken up by the fact that you are with people and with influences that are not necessarily very helpful. If you can avoid it, avoid it. But then don't be afraid that sometimes it will still happen, and there you go with courage and with awareness that after all, you cannot be touched in your innermost. So be in contact with that as good as you can.
So yeah, because it seems like it can create this intense kind of belief of like these opposing forces in the mind, maybe, or I don't know, like like a dichotomy, like the duality of having differing opinions and yeah, so it seems like of course, like as we go through life, I'm assuming we kind of build up karma as well as kind of get rid of it. So a lot of teachers I know I've heard say, well, everything like not being in the body is like this purification procedure, and the whole thing is this benefit. The whole thing is an opportunity to kind of clear away all of the sense of a separate individual or a belief in that or something. But it really seems like some of the time, getting into these situations, we don't follow our better discernment or judgment about whether or not these things are right, and kind of go into them anyway. But yeah.
Yeah. You have the full right to avoid situations that you think they are not helpful, that just create again more stuff to work out. But as I said, not out of fear. So it's not that because people think, oh, but I'm here for opportunities, I'm here to work out things, so I have to look for difficult situations. You don't have to run after difficult situations, but you don't have to be afraid of them either. If you can go around, and if you have to face it, then face it with courage. Face it with courage, not with fear. But you don't have to run away, but you don't have to search it out also. And if you can choose easily, and it makes totally sense when you see something on the way and you feel, no, I just rather go around and proceed.
I find so much like positive benefit to speaking with souls who, like, I guess, who can see through all this chatter of the mind, I guess. Is it okay that that's like, I mean, that's been the majority of what I would call like my spiritual practice, because I feel there's a lot of ways to kind of be really reflective in that, but that means at the same time I gravitated towards this kind of the social nature of it, and obviously putting into practice what has been suggested. Like, I don't if someone suggests, okay, try this kind of self-inquiry, then but I'm wondering if I'm thinking like the need to meditate or to go within oneself to kind of gain this deeper insight seems like it's a consistent theme in many people's sadhana. But for me, it's at least recently, I've gotten back into it a little bit, but it's.
Well, I wouldn't recommend to give it completely up. You don't have to spend a lot of time like this, but it helps if you just have a little time. There is a different intensity there, and that intensity clears the mind, and that in that increased clarity, it's easier to deal with situations in such a way that they are helpful, no matter whether the situations are attractive ones or repulsive ones. If that insight is increasing, if that clarity is increasing, then it's easier to deal with all the situations of life in a more creative and helpful way. For that, it is helpful. And if you feel like, if you have more time and more inspiration, you can increase the time. And if you have less time or less inspiration, you can reduce, but I wouldn't keep it up completely. Just at least for some time a day, that you just withdraw from all the activities, not busy, put your undivided attention in one way or another, the way you feel like that. People may suggest this, people may suggest that. If something resonates, you can include it in your practice, but you don't have to think, oh, I have to try it because if I don't, maybe I'm losing something. After all these are just tools to bring for that simple thing, to bring your attention back to yourself, to that sense of presence. And doing that every day for some time has the tendency to sort of clear out our psyche, that it is becoming easier to see our way from moment to moment, to know what to do from moment to moment, to deal with circumstances, pleasant circumstances as well as unpleasant circumstances, in such a way that there is somehow that it becomes more, that your whole life, that your whole experience becomes more an expression of your own inner beauty.
And this is kind of a logistical next part of it is like, well, logistic either. You know, the purification seems to, I would say now and again, the purification kind of gets more powerful, like things are really kind of drop away quite quickly, and other times it seems like, oh, I haven't noticed that happen in a while. Post I guess realization, I don't know how how it's defined really, but post realization, does that change, or is it like the purification to the body with the body is like this permanent thing, because we're always we're always adapting in a way, like there's always energy kind of received and or given it, yeah. So
well, that struggling part, that part that is always a bit at war with the whole thing, and it's always a bit a struggle, that of course that can be over for good. But as long as there is manifestation, yes, there is a process of the system is getting a bit polluted and it's working itself out, but that happens in a playful way that is not at all disturbing the peace, the inner peace, because of that. For a long time, it looks like a struggle, always to sort of free ourselves from this influence, from that influence. It's always a bit heavy-duty thing. And then that can really completely disappear. And then it's play. It's a playful story that is there as long as a manifestation is there. Part of that will be there also. An aspect of it without being a burden, without being a barrier.
and it seems like sometimes, you know, um like to it, I guess it's reasonable to want a kind of really clear and like not so like a path that's very, very straight and narrow, or like really, you know, okay, I'm gonna just do this one thing for, you know, 10 years and then 12 years, 15 years, whatever, and then at some point, well, and then realize along the way that it's already that, I suppose, or it's kind of how everything is just this. But in this case, in the case here, it's been very, very much kind of a garbled jostling of a lot of different traditions, teachers, just explore, like a lot of exploring. So
yeah.
But I also consistently have this kind of vasana, samskara that comes up, that's like you know, I start doing one thing, and then if I go to do the next thing, like, oh, I've got, you know, there's a second I can pause that and go to something else. And within me, it just feels like, I don't know, the thoughts say, like, just do one thing. But there's this confusion, like, why are my own thoughts judging this behavior? Perhaps they're right, but perhaps, you know, yeah. So
You mean, why are you judging your own behavior or the behavior of people who do it differently? Just to be sure that I understand what you're talking about.
I think it's my, like, just the example I just used, it was just something I was doing today, just like earlier before I was cooking dinner. It's just like a little, I find it interesting, these patterns. The mind seems to be able to project the patterns onto so many different things, and it's just the same pattern. Yeah, so I guess I mean in the case, but I guess it applies to others as well, because if I'm judging myself, then I'm likely judging others in similar way. So
Yes.
yeah.
Listen to your heart. Deep down, we know where the way is going along. And then if the mind comes in doubting, you can, for a moment, have a good look at it and see, is there a point in it? Maybe there is no point. It's just the old mind stuff that is often sabotaging of just naturally proceeding. And then when you find yourself judging yourself, judging others about your actions, or others and judging their actions, the moment you become aware, you can say, there I'm going again. It's not necessary, because they need maybe to go for that experience in the long run. That's what they need. So what can I know from an external observer? And judging yourself, then you can have a good, honest look at yourself and see, have my actions created harm to myself or harm to others? If they have, then you can correct them. If they don't have, then you stop doubting and making a problem where there is not a problem.
Carry on. Thank you.
Hari Om, I wish you well. Somehow or other, we just have to come back to that which is always present. What is it that is always present? You are always conscious. There is always that love, that awareness, all is connected. There is always everything that exists, that lives, that moves, is based on that Shakti, on that energy, the prana, the life force that is there. Somehow or other, we just have to come back with our attention to connect with that. It doesn't mean we have to live in isolation. Sometimes, if somebody feels like doing so, it may be very helpful to live in isolation. But it means that no matter what is happening, no matter how much activity, this is always first. And that's our goal. Our goal is not somewhere out there. It's here, it's now. That's what we are looking for. Just come home and be with her. I wish you all well. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om.